nutrition, fitness. Yeah, it's definitely one of the biggest New Year's Eve resolutions that I hear about. And I know I work at a gym and I see a lot of my clients will either be more motivated with what they want to eat or more motivated with how many workouts they want to get in. And they often come to me with questions about new diet stuff they hear about, because you read about them in magazines. Walking down the aisle of a bookstore, you'll see lots of different books on different detoxes or some things that you should try. And it kind of all started for me, this topic, when I went to Barnes & Noble looking for a book for one of my clients who's a vegan, and she wanted to know how she could meet her fitness-related goals while also eating no meat, no dairy. And so I went to Barnes & Noble looking for this book, and I was flabbergasted and overwhelmed and frustrated by all of the books that they had available to consumers. And for me, I went to college and got my degree in dietetics, and so I feel like I'm fairly educated on the topic of nutrition. But if I were just somebody who went to college or is uneducated on nutrition and just wanted to be healthier, just wanted to lose weight, and they went to Barnes & Noble looking for some sort of resource for them, they would have no idea where to start. Absolutely no idea, because there's hundreds of books with different ideas, different diets. South Beach is a huge one, Atkins, paleo is big right now, buzzword, gluten-free. All of these diets are, some of them are just fundamentally different. So how do you choose which one is right for you? And so that's why this kind of got developed. And so I left the bookstore frustrated, and I went to the internet, and then I got even more frustrated because I Google searched it, and just thousands and thousands and thousands of things popped up. And so again, I was like, how could anybody out there find what works for them? If there's so many different options, how do you choose which one is best? And so this is how that all started. So I'm going to go through a few different myths that are out there, especially today, things that are going to be really hot, I think, this year, hot topics. The first one is the gluten-free diet. Jimmy Kimmel did a little skit on his nighttime TV show where he goes around and he kind of picks at people. And so he went around and asked people, are you following the gluten-free diet? And a lot of them would be like, oh yeah, we don't eat gluten. Gluten's bad, that's bad stuff for us. And then the interviewer would ask them what gluten was. And you would get some pretty strange answers as to what gluten actually is. And a lot of people don't know, and I think it's because it's just blown up so far, the topic of gluten-free. And there's been so many new products out there that are labeled gluten-free, and they're labeled with green writing so it looks healthier. And most people don't know what gluten is. And the truth is, gluten is just a protein that's found in wheat, barley, and rye products, and then products derived from those. So gluten isn't what's causing any sort of weight gain, and the gluten-free products are developed for people who have an intolerance or an autoimmune disorder that affects their digestive system, so they actually can't have gluten. Their body attacks itself if they have gluten. And so these products were developed for that reason, but because marketing and because of the huge success that advertising has done for the gluten-free market, people are under the impression that just because it's labeled gluten-free means it's healthier. And I actually have another job at Lincoln Surgical Hospital too as a dietary aide, and a lot of the patients there will order our gluten-free brownie because they think it's healthier, when really gluten-free baked products especially are less healthy, because when you take the gluten out, that's what the binding agent is. So the gluten holds the product together. So when you take something out of a product, you often have to replace it with something else to do the same function. So they add more fat, or they add more sugar, or more something to help bind it. Lots of gums, different synthesized products. So oftentimes they're going to be higher in calories and higher in fat as well, the gluten-free products. However, no doubt you're going to find people that have success on the gluten-free diet. They're going to come up to you and say, hey, I know you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to feel better too. I did the gluten-free diet and it worked really great for me. And that's not discounted at all. It might have genuinely worked for them, but it's not because they avoided gluten. It's because they stopped eating some of the processed food and maybe started watching their calories a little bit more and started exercising more as well. So there's always multiple things that a person is doing that they see success with at any diet. And so gluten-free isn't really the answer, because gluten is just a protein found in those wheat, barley, and rye products. So and also too, if you do eliminate gluten and you don't need to, you can be at risk for certain vitamin and mineral deficiencies. And especially women of childbearing age, folic acid is the big one, because folic acid has been fortified in a lot of those wheat products. And so if you are of that age, it's super important for you to get folic acid even before you become pregnant. So try your best not to avoid those products or to get it from other sources, but if you're just decided to go gluten-free, you can become deficient between those, and they did that for infants. If you have a folic acid deficiency, you can have a child born with spina bifida, and some other neurological symptoms too come from that. So you can eat a healthy diet without gluten, but you want to make sure that you do your research and know what other things you need to do to supplement your diet to get the same nutrients that those products provide. And claim number 2, this is a big one, and I think this one won't go away anytime soon, but a fat-free diet or low fat. And fat-free products really started coming up on the market years ago too. You can see fat-free cheese, fat-free, and they'll just label it on there because it's one of those things that if it's labeled fat-free, it's seemingly healthier. I use the example Twizzlers all the time. Twizzlers will say fat-free food on the packaging, or hot tamales. All of those just sugary candies will say fat-free. That doesn't mean that they're healthy. And in fact, it's kind of false advertising too, because with excess sugar, if your calories are in excess, they're going to be stored as body fat. So is it really a fat-free food? In my opinion, no. But I kind of digress on that one. So you actually do need fat in your diet. So if you're going on a fat-free diet, you're putting yourself at risk for more vitamin deficiencies like we talked about with the gluten-free diet. There are fat-soluble vitamins and water-soluble vitamins, and vitamins A, D, E, and K require some dietary fat for you to absorb them. And the essential part here is not going fat-free or really low-fat, it's choosing the right kinds of fat. So when you're going on a fat-free diet or a low-fat diet, I'm sure you're still incorporating those good fats, but just eliminating a lot of those processed foods that we talked about earlier. So I did a little research on this as well, on the fat-free versus full-fat products. And I was kind of surprised because I knew I would make a point somewhere. Because when you do take fat out, same thing with gluten, you have to put something else in it to do that same function. So I looked at the back of Kraft cheese and the fat-free Kraft cheese. I was kind of flabbergasted again by what was in the fat-free slices. And so it had more sodium, and it also had a lot of different things in it too that I wasn't even sure. I had to look it up. Disodium inositate, which is just a chemical produced in a laboratory, and then along with they have artificial colorings, artificial flavors that aren't in the regular just Kraft single slices. And then they also have gums, which is another thing that they'll add to fat-free products, like fat-free ice creams. Most fat-free dairy products will have gums added to them because fat gives that melt in your mouth texture to the product. So by putting the gums in there and taking the fat out, they get that same result. Not well though. If any of you have tried a fat-free cheese or fat-free product, you know it doesn't taste the same, and it definitely has a weird aftertaste to it. And then they also added sodium hydroxide to it, which is not something that I want in my everyday diet. But and also corn syrup, so more sugar. Lots of different things that you have to add to it for flavor and for texture when you take the fat out. So in my opinion, I think having low-fat or full-fat products in our diet is the better way to go. You just want to make sure that we're watching our portion sizes on those. And so instead of avoiding fat altogether, I do say in this packet to choose just healthier sources of fat. So you want to try to choose fats that are more unsaturated, meaning more liquid at room temperature. And a lot of those are found in avocados, nuts, seeds. You can also find them in oils, healthy cooking oils, salad dressing oils. And all around those are going to be better for you. And then also some fats will be found in fish, salmon, or mackerel and tuna. Those will have your omega-3 fatty acids in them more so. And those are really great for heart health, brain health, hair, skin, nail health. So many good benefits come from eating fat. You just want to make sure that you're keeping that within a healthy balance in your overall diet as well. So demonizing fat is not the way to go with dieting. Claim number 3, which is going to be a huge hot topic for a while. At the beginning of the year, a lot of detox diets start popping up. I don't know if you're familiar with one particular diet that caught me was the one that Gwyneth Paltrow, she made really popular. It was the Master Cleanse, I believe. And it's this concoction of lemonade, cayenne pepper, some other weird thing. But it's just strange stuff. But you're supposed to drink this and it's supposed to help detoxify your body. Because a lot of people are under the impression, because of advertising and marketing and that sort of thing, because their bodies are toxified, that's why they're not losing any weight. And so by detoxifying your body, it will help release some stored body fat, or help you get to where you want to go. And that whole idea has really no basis in biology, the idea that we have to detoxify ourselves, that our bodies are incapable of detoxifying themselves, which is just silly because we have a whole detoxification system in our bodies already with our spleen and our liver and our kidneys. And we don't need to take products that are going to make our organs work more to detoxify ourselves, because those are it's still foreign, all of these things that are in those detox products. So you put them in your body, and then you realize, well, yeah, my body's working harder. It has to work harder to detoxify itself. And so when you're on those detox diets, you are going to lose weight, especially because most of them are very calorie restricted. So you're not eating very much, maybe 800 calories tops. And so you lose a lot of muscle and you lose a lot of water weight when you're on those detox diets. And so initially you do feel like you're being successful on those diets, but you can't live like that forever. You know, you can't take detox pills and only eat a very small amount for a long period of time without either getting sick or throwing in the towel completely and just returning to old habits. So then so often you'll see that you will gain that weight back really quickly and then some sometimes. So it's important to maintain as much lean muscle mass as you can throughout the weight loss process, because then you're going to keep your metabolism in a much more healthy state. So those detox diets are really doing a number on your metabolism. So when you end that program and start to incorporate other foods back in or go back to your old eating patterns, you will find that your metabolism is slower, so you put on weight even faster. So detox diets, I would avoid them. And so some of my clients will also come to me and say, well, I just want to do it to get to a certain point. Like, I just want to do it to lose a certain amount of weight, and then I'll start incorporating those healthier habits, and I'll start eating a little bit better. But for now, I just really want to lose weight quick. And I always caution them, because losing weight that quickly is not good for your body. It puts your body in a big state of stress. And then when you do start trying to incorporate those healthier habits, you're going to get discouraged because you're going to gain some weight back, and then you're going to want to do that detox again. So it kind of starts a vicious cycle that we want to avoid overall. Any questions?
I have a question about butter.
Mm-hmm.
What,
Yeah.
Because I've heard different things about butter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, have real butter, don't, you know.
Yeah, and I think it's, every person will tell you a different answer, but as a nutritionist and something that I've studied, I would say butter over margarine and over the fake stuff any day. You just want to watch your portion sizes with that, because oftentimes, because butter is really full of flavor, you don't need a whole lot, so maybe a half tablespoon. But what you'll do with the other products is, because you think that they're seemingly healthier, you'll use more of them. And I think our bodies don't recognize what those are. I mean, our bodies are miraculous things. They do some pretty cool stuff. But if we're putting a bunch of things that are made in a food lab in our bodies, I have a hard time thinking that it recognizes what it actually is for me.
Yeah.
But, and as long as you're keeping the saturated fat content of your diet 15% of your total calories and below, I would say have no problem incorporating butter into a meal plan. Yep. Good question. And eggs too, but I think butter and eggs have both been demonized because of either dietary fat or dietary cholesterol, which is just one of those things, especially for eggs. If you haven't been diagnosed with any sort of cardiovascular diseases yourself, eggs have really positive nutrition. They have a lot of vitamin A, choline, B vitamins, and vitamin D a little bit too. And so they're a great thing to incorporate into your diet. You just want to make sure, maybe keep it within a healthy limit, 2 eggs a day, not 6 eggs a day, things like that. But good question. So the best thing you can do to cleanse your body is to eat fruits and vegetables, lean proteins, getting lots of whole grains, things with fiber, and B vitamins as well. And so you really just need positive nutrition to help cleanse your body by putting a lot of processed foods in our bodies, fast food, really high fat things. That can put your body in a state of stress, and that's not helping. It's making your liver and your kidneys work harder. So just try to get a lot of those fresh fruits and vegetables, beans, legumes, nuts and seeds, those things. That's going to do the best thing to cleanse your body than anything else would.
Whenever they say nuts, it's always like, okay, what kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
almonds?
Really,
What are the best?
any kind of nut's going to have a healthier fat, an unsaturated source of fat. there are nuts out there that have more nutritional benefits to them, like walnuts and almonds are going to have more vitamin E, and vitamin E is just one of those antioxidant vitamins, good for your health
Yeah.
overall.
What about sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds?
Pumpkin seeds are really good for you as well. Sunflower seeds, those all have positive. Sunflower seeds have a little bit more of omega-6 fatty acids in them, but more so if you were using the oil. If you were, using the seeds in moderation, it wouldn't have too much of an effect on that. You want to just try to keep the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio a little higher on the omega-3 end than on the omega-6 end. So you want, and walnuts are going to have more omega-3 fatty acids in them. So that's kind of a watered down answer. I hope that helps.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The fourth claim here is a big one, thanks to the Atkins diet. That's a very familiar diet, but carbohydrates make you fat. And the reality check with this claim is that can carbohydrates make you fat? Yes, but only if you are in excess of your calories, for your amount of calories. So your body, you each have your own resting metabolic rate, and that's different for every single person. There are formulas out there that can help calculate that, but really it's a trial and error process to figure out, okay, what works for me, what doesn't. And so if you're in excess of the number that your body needs to just maintain the normal functions that it does and then adjust it for physical activity, if you're over that number, no matter what you're eating, if you're eating too much protein, too much fat, too many carbs, it's going to be stored as body fat. That's just the way that our bodies run. So carbohydrates aren't the only thing that's contributing to the increased rate of weight gain. I think the reason why a lot of people find success with the low carb diets are for the same reasons for the gluten-free diet, the low fat diet, all of those same reasons. It's because you're eliminating a lot of the bad things that you were eating before, or you're starting to cultivate healthier habits in your lifestyle. And so you're still eating carbohydrates, hopefully. Some people do go on an extreme low carb diet, and you just can't maintain that for a long period of time, especially if you are increasing your physical activity, because you need carbohydrates to help fuel that activity. And so a lot of diets, there's one in particular that you're on a 500 calorie diet. And that diet, they tell you absolutely cannot work out. And then there's another company that they usually set you around 1,200 calories. And they tell you shouldn't do vigorous physical activity. And so this is another thing too. Diets that tell you can't exercise, probably shove that away. Diets that tell you can't have fruits and vegetables, probably shove that one away too. Because those things are fundamentally, we know deep down in our heads, those things are good for us. And so if they're saying, oh no, just give up fruit for 4 weeks, and then maybe start to try to incorporate it back in. And I, myself, wouldn't do that because I know that there are a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables out there that are good for my body, and I want to put those in my body, but like the fake low carb, low sugar products you can find on the shelves. I think a banana or an apple would be much better for me and for the general public than some sort of chocolate, low sugar bar, in my opinion. But, so instead of doing low carb, you want to choose the right kind of carbs, like with the fat as well. So you want to try to choose complex carbohydrates more so than the simple carbohydrates. So complex carbohydrates are going to have more fiber and they're going to have more protein. And so choosing things like brown rice more often than you choose white rice. And it is all about a balance. So I'm not here to tell you to change all of your habits all at once and do all or nothing. It really is a balancing act between choosing healthier things and still enjoying life and being social and going out to eat and those sorts of things. It's all about finding a happy balance between all of those things. So it is the same thing with carbohydrates. So you want to try to choose whole wheat products versus just plain white bread or white pasta. Maybe try some different grains like quinoa or spelt, different things that you can incorporate into your diet that have really good nutrition and benefits for you overall. And for someone who goes on a really low calorie diet, another thing that they are seeing is weight loss, and so that's where you're going to see some success there too, but they're losing a lot of muscle tissue and water with the low carb diets as well, similar with the detox diet. So when they start to incorporate more carbohydrates into their diet, they're going to see that weight gain come back, and then they're going to get discouraged and they're going to think that the carbs are what's causing the weight gain, when it's not the carbohydrates, it's the loss of the lean body mass that was. And so your metabolism slowed down, and that's what's causing the excess weight to come back on. And any questions about carbohydrates? Okay, and so the big question, what diet should I be on? Right? Everybody wants to know what diet works, what diet should I be on? And I genuinely think none. I think dieting is what's gotten our culture into the problem that we're in, because we're constantly going on and off of a healthier, maybe even an unhealthier eating habit plan. And so the biggest thing that you can do for yourself is either meet with a nutritionist or look in a nutrition textbook or something and find out things that we might already know deep down. Fresh fruits and vegetables, lean proteins, maybe low-fat dairy products like yogurt or cottage cheese, things like that. Nuts and seeds. Finding recipes that incorporate all of these foods and not just limiting yourself to, a 4-ounce chicken breast with lunch and dinner and broccoli, because it's just not something that we're going to sustain for a long period of time. I know, I've gotten myself into that trap too. I'm not by any means perfect, so I have done that. Very regimented, but it's just not something that we do forever. So you want to try to find ways that you can incorporate healthier habits into your lifestyle and maintain that, because that's the only way you're going to find success, is if you're going about it with a mindset that you want to have long-term success, instead of in 7 days I want to lose this much, in 10 days I want to lose this much. Because really, weight is not everything. Health and cultivating those habits, that's what it's all about. And so the next handout is called Cultivating Healthy Habits. And Aristotle, one of my favorite quotes is, "We are what we repeatedly do." And it's so true. We are what we repeatedly do. We are our habits. And I'll get to that in just a second. My throat's kind of dry, sorry. So, what are habits? They are really just things that we've gotten into doing. Every morning I eat breakfast. Some people every morning they skip breakfast because they're running around, they're in a hurry, and that's just, you can pick up habits so quickly, and trying to change them is very, very hard. So what I suggest is viewing your habits as a pyramid, kind of like the food pyramid or the survival pyramid. But until you master each little block, you can't try to do too many things at once. So just do one at a time. Once you've really ingrained that into your lifestyle, then you move up to the next one. So often I start with sleep, because a lot of times people are not getting enough sleep, but it's down further on the list. But the number one is getting more fresh fruits and vegetables every day. And I think that's something that, especially at the new year when you're going on either the gluten-free diet or the low-carb diet, fat-free, I have a person at the gym that started doing Weight Watchers, and fruits and vegetables don't have any points attached to them. So she started eating a lot more fruits and vegetables, and she felt markedly better. And I was so excited that she was eating more fresh fruits and vegetables that I was just like, you go for it. Don't even worry, just you go for it. They don't have points, and that's fine. You just keep eating fresh fruits and vegetables because it makes her feel better. She has more energy. So that's the number one. And if you start noticing that, hey, I'm eating more fresh fruits and vegetables all the time, I don't even really need to have that as a goal, or that's something that I'm trying to do because I just do it, then you can move on to another habit. And so the second one is also really important, drinking more water. And this one, it seems like a no-brainer, but really, there are so many things that take the place of water. So we've got, I joked a while ago about the pumpkin spice lattes from Starbucks, or pumpkin spice frappuccinos, because people get so excited about them. And they get so excited about lattes or hot chocolate in the winter time, and those do take the place of water. And oftentimes things like coffee, I'm a coffee drinker, but it's dehydrating. So you drink it and it's a diuretic. So you're getting more and more dehydrated with more coffee that you drink. And tea as well is a diuretic. So you want to make sure that you're drinking a lot of water. And so a good place to start is just trying to get 8-ounce cups a day. And it really does depend on your body weight. Everybody needs a different amount of water depending on size. But really trying to aim for 2 liters a day is a great benchmark for most people. That's right around where they should be at. So 2 liters of water would be a great starting point for drinking more water. And we are made up of mostly water, so we want to make sure we're replenishing that. It gives you more energy. And one of the symptoms of dehydration is actually that same feeling of hunger. So if you're dehydrated, you could feel hungry, and you could overeat or eat more than you actually need, just because you were thirsty and needed to drink something. And once you get that little block, the third one is getting more sleep, like we talked about at the beginning. And that one is a tough one, because lifestyles are busier than ever before. Life is moving at a speed that is just unbelievable some days. And so getting enough sleep is hard for pretty much everybody. And it's important to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep because that's our reset button. And if we're not getting enough sleep, then we're setting ourselves up for a lot of symptoms. Obviously being tired, but there's been so many research studies that have come out saying that if you're deprived on sleep, you will eat more during the day. And that's people that sleep fewer hours will actually weigh more because your body needs more energy. It didn't get enough overnight. So you're gonna feel hungrier, you're gonna feel less productive, you're gonna choose less healthy options because when you're sleep deprived, what are the things that are highest in energy? Sugar and fat. So you're gonna choose a lot of those sugary, high fat foods, and you're not gonna want, so when you're really tired, the last thing that sounds good is a protein. What you want are like the cookies and the donuts and things like that. And that only is perpetuated by a lack of sleep. So sleep is our friend. I know it's hard to come by sometimes, but all you can do is do your best. So, if you're getting 4 hours of sleep a night, go for 4.5, or shoot for 5 even, but always try to do things for a lifetime. So you don't want to set yourself up for failure by saying, oh, I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep every night this week. Because it's just not a realistic goal, especially if you've been getting 4 hours of sleep for how many years. So start with realistic goals and then go up from there. Any questions about that so far? About the habits?
On sleep, I mean, you kind of get used to a certain amount, right? I mean, your body only lets you get so much anyway. Is that what most people talk about or find to be true? That
I think your body does adapt to a certain amount of sleep, and it depends. I think it depends on the body too. And there have been some suggestions that maybe you're an odd number sleeper or an even number sleeper. So if you get 6 hours of sleep, you'll feel better than you do if you get 7. And I think it's just something that you want to shoot for about 6 to 8 hours. But then there was another study that came out recently that said you don't have to get it all at one shot. You could get maybe 4 hours during the night, and then if you get, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 2-hour naps during the day, you'll get the same amount of sleep that you need and you'll feel great. So I think it's one of those things that there's not concrete evidence on either side about how many hours you should be getting, or if you are most successful getting 3 hours of sleep. I think it's a case-by-case basis. Sorry, that's kind of not the most clear answer. But I think shooting for 6 to 8 hours is as a general recommendation. How many hours of sleep do you usually get?
usually 7.
7.
I'm so used to getting up at 5 that even if you're up later,
Oh, yeah.
you don't
get the same.
readjust. You don't shift by an hour or 2.
Absolutely.
So you're kind of stuck if you don't stay consistent with that going to bed at the same time.
Yeah.
For a lot of, I'm guessing a lot of us are that way. We're on a pretty set routine.
That internal alarm clock.
5 a.m. is time to get up, regardless of what day it is or what,
Yeah.
If you got to bed 2 hours late, you're just cutting yourself short 2 hours, regardless.
Don't you find yourself more tired on those days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really do need the 7.
Yeah, you do, yeah, so.
And that, believe it or not, that if you were to, so I work with a lot of people at LPD and they have shift changes all the time. So sometimes they'll work overnight, but then, the next year their shift will change and they have to go from working overnight to working days. And so that eventually, if you were to work on it and try, so say you started going to bed later and waking up later as just a normal habit, I think it would get easier for you to sleep later. But because it's so ingrained in your patterns right now to sleep until 5 a.m. and then wake up, I think it would just take some time for you to to train your body to sleep later. Because it's just a transition process, and I know a lot of the people that I'm working with now are struggling because if they worked nights and now they're switching to days, they just toss and turn because they can't fall asleep yet. But it does happen eventually. The fourth one is physical activity, of course, and I think that one is a message that we hear over and over and over again, trying to get more physical activity. But I think what sets people up is when they do set those unrealistic goals and they try to hit, they try to go for an hour 6 days a week, or they make a goal to do something for an hour every day, and that's just not something that they're used to. If you're not working out at all, going from 0 to 7 days is going to be something that's overwhelming, and you're going to want to give up on it. So the biggest thing here is knowing that physical activity can come in so many different shapes and forms. I mean, at Good Life, we do boot camps and group fitness classes, but we also have a full-size gym. So you don't have to do 7 boot camps a day. You could do maybe 1 class, and then on those other days, do something else. You can park further, and it all adds up too. That's the great thing about physical activity, is if you start doing things like taking the stairs instead of the elevator. These are all things we've heard before. Parking further away from the door at a grocery store or a shopping mall or whatever. Getting more steps in, wearing a pedometer. A lot of people will start to wear a pedometer just to see how many steps they're getting, and they'll shoot for a goal every day, 10,000 steps. And so all of those little things that you do to increase your physical activity do add up. The general recommendation is 5 days a week for 30 minutes, but that could look like so many different things. It could look like a walk, it could be going for a run, it could be playing with your kids, it could be going out and shooting hoops for 30 minutes. Something that you're adding to your day that does benefits for you. So physical activity is important. Sweating a little bit every day, or 5 days a week, is important. And it's really good for our hearts too, just to get our heart rates up. And to maintain lean muscle mass. Lots of different topics come from these habits, but I'll try to keep it sort of simple. The 5th one is a big one too, and it's addressing stress. Because life is moving a million miles a minute, that's common. I'll feel really overwhelmed with stress, and especially with trying to balance work life, family life, trying to eat healthier, trying to work out, just adding so many things that can cause stress. So what you want to do is not put our health on the back burner, which so oftentimes, especially if work is stressful, that's what happens. Like if you're really busy at work, the first thing you throw out is maybe eating healthier. You'll just run through a drive-thru on your way home or order something because you didn't have time to make it. So addressing the stress, something that I started doing is just taking 10 minutes for myself during the day, any time of day. Sometimes it's in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon. Most of the time it's in the evening or before I go to bed, but I'll just meditate for 10 minutes or just sit quietly for 10 minutes, kind of collect my thoughts, and then I sleep better. And it could look like anything for you. You could just sit and read for 10 minutes. And it sounds like it's kind of silly, but because it's only 10 minutes, but it's a wonder to just not have to worry about pleasing the world or anybody for just 10 minutes and only thinking about internally, what can I offer myself today for these 10 minutes. And so that is really helpful, and it does calm the nerves and addresses that stress a little bit. The 6th one is another mental health tip too, talking to someone that you love every day or someone that you really care for every day. And like I said on the handout, that could be a friend, that could be a spouse, family member, it could be your dog, it could be your cat. Sometimes it's my cat, sometimes I just mention my cat. And just something to get that energy out, speak what's on your mind, just talk to someone that you love once a day. And that's going to boost your sense of well-being and your sense of purpose so much. And it's uncomparable to anything else. If you just feel like you're incorporated into a community or plugged in with a family member, friend. Great things, great habits. Any other habits that you guys feel like are really important that you are trying to develop this year? Any New Year's resolutions you want some help with, or that you want some motivation on? No? Okay. Well, I hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll be here for probably another 5 minutes or so. So I hope you guys have a great 2015 and make this year your best year yet. It was great to come and talk to you guys.